The US has got a road deaths problem. In the first 9 months of 2021, an estimated 31,000 people were killed on US roads. It's a 12% increase on the same period the year before, and the largest surge in fatalities since reporting began.
We have a crisis that is urgent, unacceptable, and preventable.
One major cause of those deaths is speeding. According to the US Department of Transportation, speeding killed nearly 100,000 people on US roads over the past decade, and played a role in more than a quarter of traffic deaths in 2020. Now, to try and reduce the number of deaths, that department is assigning billions to try and get Americans to drive safer and slower. But changing how fast America drives might not be as simple as just changing the speed limit. It involves understanding the psychology behind why we speed, and re-examining the somewhat controversial way that America's speed limits have been set in the past.
A lot of people believe we say, let's set the speed limit there and design the road around it. We actually do the exact reverse.
So how exactly are speed limits set in America? And what can be done to prevent so many deaths on US roads? Well, let's find out. Okay, first thing to understand is that the speed limit on a lot of American roads is actually decided after that road has been built. And it's often decided using something called the 85th percentile rule. So let's say we've just opened this stretch of road here. Authorities will monitor the speed that cars naturally travel down this road. Crucially, that speed is often a factor of the layout of the road. Wide, straight and open roads encourage higher speeds. The speed that 85% of people are naturally driving at or under then becomes the speed limit. Let's say in this case, it's 30 miles per hour. But there's a bit of a problem with the 85th percentile rule. Here's Beth Osborne from Transportation for America with why.
So sometimes you start to design that road and you're like, oh, that road was designed for 30 miles per hour, but people tend to be using it at 35. We should probably give them a little more space because at 35, they're going to start to make mistakes we weren't anticipating. We need to make sure the buildings are further back. We need a good clear zone so that, if someone loses control, they can drive off the roadway and not hit anything. And so you got to get rid of trees and light poles. Then everything they do to, quote, accommodate that new speed actually encourages more speeding. And then the next time you do a speed study, they say, ooh, we can't keep the speed limit at 35 because 25% of people going above that. So it's this reactive chain of events that constantly pushes the speed limit up.
So if America's speeds are determined by the speed that people naturally want to drive at, but that speed is potentially killing people, what can be done? Well, recently, US Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg said he wanted to get the number of deaths on America's roads down to
0. Our goal is 0 deaths.
To do that, he's unveiled a $5 billion strategy to try and make America's cars, roads and drivers safer. Now, the plan has its critics, from those who say 0 deaths is impossible to those who say it's not doing enough. But the thing that caught my interest was this one line in the Safer Speeds section, where it says, roadway design and other infrastructure factors play a significant role in managing speeds and can deter excessive speeding. See, in the same way that making roads more open and wider can lead to faster roads,
if they're on a road that is narrower, that maybe has a median, where there's parking along the sides, where there's trees along the sides, if you feel like you're being hugged in, you naturally, without being asked to, go slower.
Yep, it may seem counterintuitive, but making those wide, open streets a little narrower and a little tighter may actually make them safer.
So that design makes a huge difference, and that attitude has been missing from a lot of American safety.
So are we likely to suddenly see roads across the US become narrower and filled with trees and curbside shops anytime soon? Well, according to Beth, if the Biden administration wants to slow down America's roads to potentially save lives, it's going to have to do so quickly.
You've got to slowly rehab our entire massive national transportation system, which isn't going to happen overnight.
But mass infrastructure change can be a huge, expensive task. And while some streets may change in the short term, it's unclear what the longer term effects of this plan could be, or how many lives it could save.
It's still a 10 to 20 year process. And, if they lose this window, that 10 to 20 years, again, if there's a change of leadership or something shifts, can turn into 40 years like that.
So in the interim, it's going to be up to the drivers themselves to try and reduce the number of accidents. So drive safe, folks. Hey, thanks for watching. So do you think the speed limit on America's roads should be reassessed? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, if you're interested in the future of how we might be getting from A to B, then don't forget to subscribe. See you soon.